Faith Salie has the story of a pioneering cartoonist whose work was almost forgotten. Almost.
In here, we see some of her pencil drawings, some renderings.
As a professional investigator, Amanda Gormley knows how to follow the trail, but this case was personal.
This one is, the beginning of her self-portrait.
Yes.
Gormley had heard about a distant aunt, Barbara, an artist of some sort, back in the early to mid-20th century.
I was looking at her etching, and I said, "How come we don't know about you?" And then I was like, "I'm an investigator. I know how to do this. This is going to be my career case."
That was in 2011.
This is from 1929.
Yes, it was issued to her, yep.
Aunt Barbara had been gone for over 30 years, but piece by piece, a found passport, a ship manifest of Barbara's travels, a life came into focus.
Every time I found something out about Barbara, it took me down another road.
The road led to Barbara Shermund, Gormley's mother's half-sister, who also happened to be a groundbreaking artist.
Barbara Shermund was one of the first women cartoonists for The New Yorker and a great early woman humorist for American magazines from the 1920s into the 1960s.
Caitlin McGurk is the curator of comics and cartoon art at the Ohio State University Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum, and author of a book on Shermund's life and art. She says Shermund didn't hold back on critiques of marriage, age, and gender.
One theme that Barbara goes back to again and again is women. Women talking to each other, women making fun of each other, women encouraging each other, generational dynamics between young women and old women. She just seemed to have an innate understanding of the way women interact.
By coincidence, McGurk first came across Shermund's works around the same time Amanda Gormley had taken up the case.
I opened up a box one day that had her work in it and was just blown away. I couldn't believe I'd never heard of this artist before. Based on the humor, I thought they were easily from the 60s or 70s. They just seemed so contemporary and feminist to me.
A blog post written by McGurk in 2012 led to McGurk and Gormley joining forces.
You were filling in blanks for each other.
Correct.
So who was Barbara Shermund? Born in San Francisco in 1899, her mother died in the 1918 pandemic. In her 20s, Shermund moved to New York City during the Roaring '20s.
Barbara is finding herself in a world in which she can have newfound freedoms as a woman. We're talking right after women even were given the right to vote.
While married twice, there's little evidence these were anything but marriages of convenience. Shermund didn't have children and may have had romances with women. Besides hundreds of works for The New Yorker, she illustrated for Pepsi Cola, Esquire, had a syndicated cartoon panel called Shermund's Sallies, and in 1950 was one of the first women accepted into the National Cartoonists Society.
She was remarkably successful as an artist back then.
So why was she largely forgotten? For one thing, when Shermund died at 79 in 1978 in New Jersey,
a pressman strike today shut down New York City's 3 major daily papers.
There was a New York newspaper strike, which meant no obituary. Then there was the matter of Shermund's grave.
I was looking to find out where she was buried so I could pay my respects, and couldn't find anything.
A call with a funeral home led Gormley to a shocking discovery.
He says, "We have her here. Nobody's ever claimed her."
Barbara Shermund's ashes had sat for over 30 years.
And I said to him, "Can I have her?" And he said, "Sure, nobody else wants her."
Gormley and curator Caitlin McGurk launched an online campaign to raise money for a burial near San Francisco. And in May of 2019, the two sleuths laid the artist to rest next to her mother.
What was that like?
It was sad and it was joyous, bittersweet. You know, we felt that we had really championed a good cause.
In 2022, 43 years after Shermund's death, the New York Times published an obituary.
Do you want to read it?
Sure. So the young lady is saying, "Mother, had you known many men when you married Daddy?" And the mom says, "No, dear." And the young girl says, "Well, I think that's a shame."
As she's sitting with her parents smoking.
Totally, yeah, completely iconic of Sherman's women, especially her women in the 1920s.
This is so audacious.
At the Brandywine Museum of Art in Pennsylvania is a display of Barbara Shermund's life and work curated by McGurk.
Why should people care?
Because her work matters. It was everywhere at one point, and it was so poignant and tells us so much about the time in which she lived. It's important to preserve that, now more than ever, to celebrate women's voices and let them be heard. So I just think it's really necessary to bring her back to life in that way while putting her to rest.